Our AFLW Finals Week 1 preview, Sambo. We are continuing throughout the post-season, to use a little bit of American vernacular. I've been watching too much baseball, clearly. We start, of course, on Friday night with the first placed Kangaroos taking on the fourth placed Hawks at 7:15 p.m. These two teams, Sambo, they've only played once in the history of the AFLW, which was last weekend, where the Roos walloped the Hawks 67-18. North, the undisputed favourites, they're basically unbackable to win back-to-back undefeated flags. They enter the match on an unprecedented run of victories. They've not lost a game since the 2023 Grand Final. The Hawks have lost 2 of their last 3. How the fuck do you stop Ash Riddell and Jazzy Garner? They're averaging 64 touches, 10.5 tackles, and 10.6 clearances per game combined. North also have 4 players averaging more than a goal per game. The Hawks have just 1 player in Onia McDonough. What do you think, Sambo? How's this game going to go? I think you said you watched the previous matchup between these two sides, yeah?
I think I did, yeah. I've definitely watched both of the teams a couple of times recently, and I think I did, watch the time that they played. And both the times over the last sort of 3 weeks that I've watched the Roos, to just sound like the most broken of all broken records. It's just system. Like, not to take away from those A-grade talented players, but it's just like a solid wall in their defense, and then that wall just moves forward when they go like attack. It's like, it's nothing fancy. You'd rare, like, from what I've seen, again, a small sample size, but from what I saw, there was no like players taking screamers or kicking ridiculous sort of check side goals from the boundary line. Or it's just like, and I mean this as a compliment, it's the most meat and potatoes AFL football. But like, I mean it in a good, like, I love that. I actually love that. It's just efficiency. It's the rock solid fundamentals, really good system, really good coverage, really good structure, like both offensively and defensively. I don't think this will be a match for more than a couple of quarters. I do think the Roos are just too strong. I like, the big one, the big thing to me that you know, if you're going to look at how the difference between the two sides is to compare their percentages. I don't really see how those percentages result in a game that's not one-sided.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, the Roos have just been so good. They've been blisteringly good. We saw firsthand when they played the Cats earlier in the season, and it felt like we were right in that game at 3/4 time, and then they just went, no, you're not. We're putting ourselves into the next gear, and you will not keep up. So, no, I agree. I think that there's a chance that the Hawks come out and are more competitive, particularly in the first half, simply by dint of the fact that they got so badly flogged last time. Like, I just think that it's sort of a rare opportunity to back up and immediately make good on your mistakes or your lack of execution. But having said that, there's also a chance that North Melbourne are the most merciless team of AFLW players that we've ever seen, and they just come out and drop a hammer and book a prelim and a week off. So I'm going to make my score pick. I'm going to say it's 60-25. It's not that much different to what it was last time, but maybe it's closer for a little bit longer. Which way are you going?
Yeah, I'm going. Oh, I was going to go almost exactly the same. I might drop the Roos a little bit just because it's finals and things can get cagey. So I might go the Roos at like 55. But yeah, I think the Hawks will be around the 20 mark.
Yeah, No, to me, it just feels like they're going to be too reliant on one avenue to goal, the Hawks. And what's crazy is when you talk about North's goal kickers, and how that, what did I say? They have 4 players averaging more than a goal per game. That doesn't even take into account Kate Shearlaw, who's averaging, I think, 0.9 goals per game. So they have so many avenues to score. Yeah, we both think they'll get this one done fairly comfortably. That means Saturday afternoon, 3:05 p.m., the lone AFLW final on the weekend, on the Saturday. The 5th place Blues take on the 8th place Eagles. This was a game that just happened last weekend as well. This time it'll go down Saturday at 3:05 p.m. They've only played twice in the history of the competition. They're going to play a third time, as I said, in the space of 2 weeks. Not that they've played 3 times in 2 weeks. They will have played twice in 2 weeks, 3 times total in history. Carlton hold a 2-0 record. In 2023, they beat the Eagles 77-24. Last week, they beat the Eagles 42-22. Ella Roberts has been a key cog for the Eagles this year, averaging 23.5 disposals, nearly 7 tackles, and a tick under 4 clearances per game. Carlton, Sambo, they've got 5 players averaging 2.5 clearances or more per game. West Coast have just 1 such player. That is the aforementioned Ella Roberts. Did you watch the previous clash between these two teams, and what do you think will happen in the rematch?
I did watch it. I remember it being largely disappointing, and one of those games that just felt a little bit foregone, which disappointed me a little bit because West Coast were the team that I have decided to one of the teams I've decided to try to follow through the final. So I was really, really backing them, like really hoping they could do something against the team that was, sort of up and about and above them on the ladder. This one, I kind of feel similar to how you were feeling about the Hawks. Like, I think the Eagles are like a chance to come out a bit plucky and do something. Like I suppose I've got a lot of faith in Daisy Pierce to come out and sort of have done the homework on that previous result and make it different. Whether they can take that through to actually changing the result or just hopefully changing the way the game plays out, being a little bit more competitive for 4 quarters, a little bit more competitive in the middle, because it did feel like not only were Carlton pretty efficient, but it felt, I don't have the stats in front of me, but it felt like the game was kind of won and lost in the middle. At really key moments when you just needed, like West Coast just needed a bit of a settler clearance to get it up and have a bit of a look themselves. They just couldn't kind of penetrate at all.
Yeah, obviously we've watched the Cats get pretty soundly thumped by both of these teams in one way, shape, or form this year. But the Eagles, to me, they played such a good game against us, but then so did the Blues. So the Carlton have been like my underrated story of the year. Like, I've just kept waiting for them to fall off, and the fact they end up just short of a top 4 position is kind of insane. To think that, like, last year they were probably one of the least watchable sides in the whole comp, and then this year they've been one of the best teams to watch in terms of how they go about it. I am going to predict that the Eagles do cause a boil over here, though. The 8th place Eagles, I think they take the opportunity to revisit what they did last week. I think we were disappointed as viewers. I think they'll be disappointed as professionals, and I think they cause an upset in one of the games of finals week 1, 39-37, a 2-point win for the West Coast Eagles. What say you as far as result and margin?
I actually agree. I think they, like I said, I don't have a huge degree of confidence in it, but I actually think the Eagles could run away, maybe 2 goals in front. If we go like a 32 to a 22, maybe a 10 point kind of margin. Like, I think it'll be really tough, but I kind of feel like if the Eagles can be putting on the pressure throughout the game, I kind of back that their pluckiness might get them over the line, that they might just be able to like keep coming up with answers, and I feel like Carlton might be the team more likely to break late. Like if a team breaks earlier in the game, weirdly, I feel like it might be the Eagles under the moment. But I think if they're a chance and they're up and about, I can see them kicking two of those real like just great unanswered goals. Maybe the scores are level, or maybe they're a couple of points behind, and they kick a couple of really brutal ones quickly in the fourth. I think they can cause the upset. But it's sort of, for me, they've got to do the work first. They need to be in a position to win it late. If they can't keep up early, I do feel like they could see their season slipping away at halftime and not quite be able to sort of get their composure back. I suppose that's my worry for them, is that they're going to lose it in the second quarter and not be able to, like, not necessarily like score buffer wise, but just mentality wise.
Yeah. The genie might get out of the bottle early, but if they can keep it contained, maybe they can get a wish granted. All right, that takes us to the. I've landed the plane, landed the joke, barely. Qualifying final 2 will take place on Sunday at 1:05 p.m. The second place Melbourne Demons taking on the third place Brisbane Lions. Now, these teams didn't play that long ago either. I guess by nature of a short season, you have a higher likelihood to have played a finals opponent if you're going to play again. Brisbane have won 4 of the last 5 matches between these two teams, dating back to season B of 2022. But Melbourne's one victory was in the finals campaign in 2022. I think this is probably the shout for the best matchup of the weekend. For me, it's this or the game we just discussed. Like 5th v 8th can sometimes be a walkover, but sometimes it can also be that first eliminator. It's the first time in the finals you see one team knows its future is done if they lose. So sometimes 5th v 8th can be a fun game. But I think this is the one for me of the weekend. Second place D's v third place Lions. Melbourne, the better contested team. They've averaged 130 contested possessions this year to Brisbane's 119. Brisbane make better use of the mark, 51 per game to 41. We know Melbourne like to move the ball by hand, and they're a shade better in terms of clearances, a shade better in terms of tackling. But Brisbane won the last time these two sides played. Sambo, I don't know if you watched them last time. I know we've both watched Melbourne recently against the Cats on Saturday night. But what are your thoughts on this one? Who do you see winning? What's your take?
Well, first of all, Colin has changed the banner. Just want to put that out there.
Fucking hell, Colin.
You got one job that includes, a lot of elements, a lot of things you got to do, but technically it's one job. It's one like occupation, one job description, and you can't even handle that. I don't know when the last time. I think the last time I played Brisbane was the Cats. So whatever round that was. When did we play the Lions? Did we?
It was last year, I think.
I was going to say we didn't play
last
this year. No, I honestly think there's got to be. I was just scrolling through their recent fixtures, and I can't see when the last time I played them. I watched. Actually, I think I might have watched them play the Bombers. Anyway, not that interesting. I have to. I think I just got to go with the gut of having not watched Brisbane, but heard lots of good things. So to me, they're a bit of an unknown spectre compared to Melbourne, who I have seen. So I feel like Brisbane are going to be too good, but I'm really struggling to pick the margin. I just don't know. I'll be fully honest. I don't have a lot of feel about where their goals come from, like around the like where their results come from. I guess where they win their games from, and how that's going to match up against this Demons, but they're sort of sitting as a bit of an unknown, and for that reason, I feel like, I've got the feeling they're going to take the win.
Yeah, no, I agree. I haven't got to watch a shitload of Brisbane this year, but like the reason I think this is probably the best matchup of the weekend is because it's two of like the old powers, really, in the
True.
AFLW. And I also think that beneath all of the like hype about North, one of these two teams might just go, you know what? On our day, if we put it all together and we can put a bit of pressure on North, like we might be the team that could cause the upset and win a flag because neither of these teams are bad teams. I mean, you look at Melbourne, they're like what their percentage this year is like 200. In any other year, they would probably be topping the ladder. Like, so, it's important to remember that stuff that, like, just because North appear right now to be heads and shoulders above everyone else does not mean that there is no one without a chance. I think these two teams, on balance, we'll talk about the Crows in a minute. For me, the Crows have had way too many sort of gaps in their game exposed this year for me to think that they're going to be able to, run off 4 consecutive wins to go the distance. But Melbourne, if you could get a win here, either of these teams, you get a win here, you book a home prelim pretty much, and then you're a win away from a grand final. So I'm gonna lean with Melbourne just because I think in these sorts of matchups, it is hard to beat each other too many times consecutively. And I think the sort of history bears out. Yeah, the Lions have won 4 of the last 5, but when it came to finals, Melbourne got the job done. I think Melbourne will get the job done. I think this will be a fun game. I've got the D's winning this one. Let's go 48 to 40. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go. Melbourne winning it by 8 points. What
I'm
about
going to
you?
go.
Are you going to try and pick a margin here?
Yeah, I'm going to go 38 to Melbourne, but I'm going to go 52 to Brisbane. Like I said, it's purely like from this place of just not knowing. I know Melbourne are higher on the ladder, etc. But there's something about, maybe it's the recency of the dominance of the AFLM Lions. For whatever reason, they're standing as a bit of a spectre in my mind.
Well, and the other thing to think about too with Brisbane is that 2023, Brisbane 44, North 27 in the grand final. That's the last time North Melbourne lost a game of football. 2024, Brisbane 9, North Melbourne 39. So the Roos beat the team that vanquished them the previous year. Would it not be fitting for us to get a North Melbourne Brisbane Lions, hat trick of grand finals, and either North book a massive spot in history going back to back undefeated seasons and back to back? Like that's something like unprecedented in professional footy. Or does Brisbane write their name in history as the team that finally brought an end to the streak after they were the ones that started it? That would be fun. That would be a very fun matchup. I would be here for that. So, yeah, no, I like both of our picks. I could see both of those results, which brings us to the final game of the weekend. This one's a weird one. The Crows currently sitting in 6th spot. Oh, they enter the finals in 6th. They host the Saints, who are 7th. Sunday, 3:05 p.m. These two sides have played 6 times since 2020. The Crows won 5 in a row from 2020 to 2024 before the Saints turned the tables on them this season, winning 41 to 19 in August of this year. Neither of these sides comes into finals in great form. The Crows have actually lost 3 of their last 5 matches, and the Saints have lost their last 2 in a row. A couple of little statistical things. The Crows have 3 players averaging 1 or more goals per game. The Saints have just 1. That's Jess Wardlaw, who has been an absolute fire starter for them this season. The Saints have 6 players averaging 5.5 tackles per game or more. The Crows have just 1. That's Ebony Marinoff. Sambo, have you watched either of these two sides recently? Obviously, I watched the Crows and the Cats, but I feel like you might have tuned in for the Crows v North and another game in which you were left disappointed.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts
and that
on
one
this one?
And I did also watch the game between these two, where the Saints pumped them, because I was completely, as I'm always am, completely oblivious to the fact that Wardlaw had gone to the Saints until I watched that game this year. And she was actually when she was playing at the Lions, she was one of my favorite non-Cats AFLW players. And I don't know how I'd been living under a rock and missed the fact that she'd swapped, but yeah, I really like her. I think she's such a dynamic and dangerous sort of player that's just got that X factor. Just always feels like something's going to happen because they're around the ball. The thing that's really hard about this one, I think, again, speaking of looming specters, having watched the game where Saints pumped the Crows, like that does feel like, well, I've seen what happens when these two teams play each other. Even though, of course, that's not necessarily the way it's going to be, but that's the way I feel. But the tough part is comparing. So they're both kind of out of form, but they've only played the same team, like one of the same teams of their last 5 matches. St Kilda have won 3, lost the last 2. Crows have won 2, but lost 3. North is the only team that both of them have played. So it's sort of hard to compare how they do against the same sides. And obviously North absolutely belted them both, so it doesn't give you a lot of, like, they're even similar-ish score like margins. St Kilda is 21-67 against North, and Adelaide 31-71. So they're kind of similar outcomes. I think the thing that worries me about Saints is they lost to the Bulldogs very recently, quite convincingly. Like that's really shaken my faith. As much as I can't stand the Ross Lyon led Saints in the M, I quite like the Saints in the W, led mostly by Wardlaw. But that gives me a bit of worries, having been absolutely belted by the Doggies in the last round. That's a weird one, but I mean, you can maybe chalk it up to the Dogs a little bit. They're a little bit erratic. They can come out and have some strange results sometimes. But the fact that in pretty recent memory, Saints have beaten Carlton, like that's, I think, probably maybe a little bit more impressive than you have to go a further round back to see like an impressive result from the Crows, and that was against the Eagles. Who are so those two teams are coming up against each other. So it's a little bit, yeah. I don't really know where my temperature check on this one is. I feel like the Saints maybe have a broader spread of where their sort of contributors come from. But I think that does lead them to be, when they come up against a team that's on fire, they maybe don't have, beyond Wardlaw, they don't necessarily have a lot of those fire starters that are going to get things happening. But I'm gonna tip the Saints. I think. I think it'll probably be a low scoring affair, because I think it will have to be for the Saints to win. They've got the worst percentage in the top 8 from memory. I don't think they're the biggest scoring team, whereas the Crows are quite handy when it comes to that. So I'm thinking the Saints are going to win maybe 42 to just 33. Not that low scoring in the end.
Nice.
Maybe lower than that.
Well, I went lower scoring in my game. I also picked the Saints to pull off the upset. 30-28, a 2-point. I mean, I'm just wish casting a bunch of close games outside of the Roos Hawks, where I just don't see it happening. I haven't picked a margin greater than 8 points outside of that game, but the Crows are just a weird team. This is a team that, like, 5 weeks ago lost to Richmond. Like, they are a weird team. They've only
And
lost.
yet,
They've
maybe
only won
six
2 of their
6 weeks
last.
ago, we were saying, oh, they might be the only ones to take it up to North.
Yeah. So like, I uh, I don't know. Like, I think the Crows. This is a case of they've probably got a better top like 5 players than the Saints. But across the spread of both squads and taking into account system and all that sort of stuff, like maybe, just maybe in 2025, the Saints might have the edge. Like, the Dogs game is, if it wasn't for the Dogs game, I would feel really pretty good about the Saints' possibilities. But they don't only got beaten, they got like shellacked by the Dogs. They conceded 72 points. So look, I'm picking the Saints 30-28, but it's on the basis of the idea that the Crows are going to have to be carried by their 2 or 3 best players, and that the Saints are going to bring a really big team performance. If the Crows get anything close to a team performance, I think they are a 2 or 3 goals better team than the Saints. You could factor in a revenge factor for them for what the Saints did to them earlier in the year. Not that I think that matters that much at this point in the season, but yeah, I'm going to go the Saints just on gut feel. I just wonder if they've got something special. It's been a weird Crows team this year. The expectation, I think, mostly will be that the Crows should get this done comfortably in front of their home crowd. I just wonder if the Saints might pull it off. So I'm going to pick an upset. Going to pick the Saints by 2 points. All right, that brings to an end our preview of AFLW Finals Week 1. We will be back on Monday night or Tuesday, depends when we record, with a full recap of AFLW Finals Week 1. Obviously, we'll have got all of the matches correct, and you can say, wow, you guys are so amazing at picking games. So thanks very much for watching our preview. Like, subscribe, and follow.